The day the aliens came to Earth started like any other in Seoul. Park Jae-ho was drinking his morning coffee when his phone rang. The call changed everything. "Mr. Park, this is the National Security Office. Please report to the Seoul International Center immediately. It's a matter of global importance." Jae-ho, a 30-year-old comedian known for his quick wit, stared at his phone. Was this a prank? But the stern voice didn't wait for his answer before hanging up. 2 hours later, Jae-ho sat in a room with 5 government officials. They weren't smiling. "An alien ship entered our atmosphere at 3:17 a.m., said the man at the head of the table. "They call themselves the Curveball. They want to meet humans. They specifically asked for Korea." Jae-ho raised his eyebrows. "And you called? A comedian?" "They requested a cultural representative, someone who understands human behavior and can think quickly. Your name came up." Before Jae-ho could argue, the doors opened. In walked a woman with a serious face and perfect posture. "Lee Soo-jin, head of security," she said, nodding to Jae-ho. "The aliens land in 1 hour. We need to move now." Aboard the Curveball ship, Captain Dak watched Earth through the main screen. "Such a primitive planet," he said with a sneer. "Commander Zik, is everything ready for our cultural exchange?" Commander Zik's mouth formed what the Curveball considered a smile, a stretching of their blue-gray skin that revealed 3 rows of tiny teeth. "Yes, Captain. The recording devices are hidden. The pranks are prepared. The High Council will be very entertained by how these humans react." "Remember," said Captain Dak, "this is classified as a diplomatic mission. The humans must not know they are being tested and recorded for entertainment." "Of course not, Captain. They're too simple to notice. Our research shows they still find bodily sounds amusing. Imagine a species that laughs at digestive processes." The crew chuckled, their skin shifting from blue-gray to purple with amusement. "Begin landing procedures," ordered Captain Dak. "Let's give our audience back home a good show." The Seoul International Diplomacy Center buzzed with activity. News crews waited outside. Inside, Jae-ho stood with Soo-jin and a small team of experts. "Remember," Soo-jin told Jae-ho, "you speak for all humans now. Be respectful but careful." Jae-ho nodded, tugging at his formal suit. He was used to making people laugh on stage, not representing Earth to aliens. Next to him, Kim Ta-won, a linguistics expert and Jae-ho's best friend since college, looked equally nervous. "What if they don't understand our language?" Ta-won whispered. "Then we smile and use hand gestures," Jae-ho replied. "Universal language, right?" The building suddenly vibrated. A low hum filled the air. "They're here," Soo-jin said. The main doors slid open. 7 tall figures walked in. They had blue-gray skin, large eyes, and wore what looked like metal suits with blinking lights. The one in front stepped forward. "I am Commander Zik of the Curveball Diplomatic Fleet," the alien said in perfect Korean. "We come in peace to learn about humans." Jae-ho stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth. I am Park Jae-ho, Cultural Ambassador. We are honored by your visit." Commander Zik's eyes blinked. One, then the other, not together. "The honor is ours. We have much to share." Jae-ho noticed something odd in the alien's tone. After years of performing comedy, he could tell when someone was not being completely honest. The alien's words seemed friendly, but something felt off. As they moved to the conference room, Jae-ho whispered to Ta-won, "Is it just me, or do they seem too perfect?" Ta-won nodded slightly. Their Korean is flawless, almost like they've been studying us for a while. In the conference room, the aliens took their seats. One of them placed a strange device in the center of the table. "A gift," Commander Zik explained. "It translates our languages." As Jae-ho reached for his chair, he didn't notice the small button Commander Zik pressed on his wrist. The show was about to begin. As Jae-ho sat down, His chair made a loud, rude noise. Everyone in the room froze. Jeho's face turned red. "I'm so sorry," he said quickly. "I didn't." Commander Zik waved a long, thin hand. "Please, do not worry. Perhaps Earth chairs are different from ours." Jeho frowned. He was sure the chair hadn't made that noise when the staff tested the room earlier. Sujin cleared her throat. "Let's begin the meeting." The humans and aliens sat around the large table. Assistants brought in drinks and small snacks. Jeho watched carefully as one of the Kurvul touched a small device on their wrist when no one was looking. "We have prepared a small meal from our world," Commander Zik said. "Please, try it." The food looked normal. Small blue squares that smelled like sweet bread. Jeho picked one up and took a bite. It tasted good at first, like honey and mint. Then suddenly, it turned sour, very sour. Jeho's eyes watered, but he forced himself to smile. "Interesting flavor," he managed to say. The aliens watched him closely. One of them seemed to be holding back laughter. Taiwan tried his piece next. When he bit into it, the blue square turned bright pink. Another piece turned green when Sujin tried it. Each time, the aliens watched with strange intensity. "Is the food changing color normal?" Sujin asked directly. "Oh yes," Commander Zik said quickly. "It responds to Earth air. Very normal." Jeho and Taiwan exchanged looks. Something wasn't right. The meeting continued. The Kurvel asked many questions about Earth customs. Their translation device sat in the center of the table, blinking with green lights. "We would like to learn about human humor," one of the aliens said. "What makes humans laugh?" Jeho, as a comedian, started to explain different types of comedy. But every few sentences, the translation device changed his words. "Comedy comes in many forms," Jeho said, but the device translated to the aliens. "Humans find pain and embarrassment most funny." Jeho didn't know this was happening. He only noticed that the aliens kept making strange notes and sometimes giggled among themselves. During a break, Taiwan pulled Jeho aside. "I've been watching their translator," Taiwan whispered. "It's not working right. Or maybe it's working exactly as they want it to." "What do you mean?" Jeho asked. "It's changing our words. I know enough of their language from the first contact data to spot the differences. They're making us sound silly or primitive." Sujin joined them, her face serious. "There's more. The chairs were rigged to make those sounds. I checked during the break." Jeho thought for a moment. "So they're pranking us. But why?" "I found tiny cameras hidden around the room," Sujin said. "They're recording everything." A new understanding dawned on Jeho's face. They're not here for diplomacy. They're here for entertainment. When they returned to the meeting room, the Kurval were waiting with what looked like gifts. "These are traditional Kurval greeting clothes," Commander Zik said. "Would you honor us by wearing them for the next meeting?" The clothes were ridiculous. Bright purple robes with flashing lights and parts that stuck out at odd angles. Jeho smiled politely. "Of course, we would be honored." After the aliens left for the day, the human team gathered in a secure room. "They think we're jokes," Sujin said angrily. "This isn't diplomacy. It's a prank show for their planet." Taiwan nodded. "They see us as primitive entertainment." Jeho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled slowly. The same smile his comedy fans knew meant trouble was coming. "So, they want comedy," Jeho said. "Let's give them comedy, but not the way they expect." "What do you mean?" Sujin asked. "They think they're pranking us, but they don't understand something important," Jeho said. "On Earth, no one outpranks a professional comedian." Taiwan grinned. "What's the plan?" "First, we play along," Jeho said. "Let them think their pranks are working. Then we show them what real comedy looks like." For the first time that day, the humans smiled with genuine amusement. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Jaiho called an emergency meeting. The human team gathered in a small room that Sujin had checked for alien devices. "We need help," Jaiho said. "Someone who understands how different cultures think about humor." 2 hours later, Yoon Hairi walked into the room. She was a top cultural anthropologist who had studied humor across human cultures. "So aliens are pranking us?" Hairi asked after hearing everything. She didn't look surprised. "Interesting. Humor reveals a lot about a culture. What do you think they find funny about us?" Ta-Won asked. Hairi thought for a moment. Based on their pranks, they seemed to enjoy watching us be confused or embarrassed. They might value control and superiority in their humor. "So they laugh at others, not with them," Jaiho said. "Exactly," Hairi nodded. "Their comedy probably doesn't include self-deprecation or shared laughter." Sujin frowned. "How does this help us?" Jaiho smiled. "It means they won't expect us to use their own tactics against them. They think we're just targets, not participants." "But we should learn more first," Hairi suggested. "Find out where these recordings go." Kang Min-soo, the team's technology expert, spoke up. "I can track their transmission signals. Give me one day." The next meeting with the Curveball went exactly as expected. The aliens brought more pranks. Chairs that slowly sank to the floor, water that changed the drinker's voice, and a translation device that made every fifth word a silly noise. But this time, the humans were ready. They acted surprised and confused by everything, giving the aliens exactly the reactions they wanted. "These costumes are quite comfortable," Jaiho said, wearing the ridiculous purple robe. Inside, it was hot and itchy, but he smiled widely. Commander Zik seemed pleased. "They are our finest diplomatic wear." While the meeting continued, Min-soo worked quietly in another room. He traced the alien transmissions to a large ship in orbit. From there, the signal went directly to the Curveball home planet. When the team gathered that evening, Min-soo showed them his findings. "It's basically a live show," he explained. "They're broadcasting everything to their planet. Look at these viewer numbers." He pointed to data on his screen. "Millions of Curveball are watching us." "We're a reality show," Sujin said angrily. Jaiho wasn't angry. He was excited. "No, we're more than that. We're performers now. And we just got a much bigger audience than I ever had on Earth." "What are you thinking?" Ta-Won asked. "I'm thinking it's time to give the Curveball audience something unexpected. A plot twist." Hairi nodded slowly. "The best comedy surprises the audience, changes their perspective." Jaiho turned to Min-soo. "Can you hack into their broadcast system? Just enough to add our own touches." Min-soo grinned. "Give me 2 days." Over the next day, the team developed their plan. Hairi researched alien psychology based on their behavior. Ta-Won studied their language more deeply. Sujin found ways to access their technology without being noticed. "We won't confront them directly," Jaiho explained. "Not yet. First, we play along even better than before." "Then what?" Sujin asked. "Then we start our own show," Jaiho said. "We flip the script." The next morning, Commander Zik and the Curveball arrived for another meeting. They had more pranks ready. But they didn't notice that Min-soo had placed tiny devices of his own around the room. "Today we would like to learn about Earth's leadership systems," Commander Zik said, while secretly activating another prank. Jaiho smiled politely. "We'd be happy to share that information." As Jaiho began speaking, Min-soo, hidden in another room, pressed a button on his computer. The humans couldn't see the changes, but on the Curveball home planet, viewers suddenly saw something different. The broadcast now showed Commander Zik with a silly hat that wasn't really there. The commander had no idea his image was being altered for the audience back home. Phase 1 of Operation Comedy had begun. The humans were no longer just the butt of the joke. They were writing their own punchlines. And the Curveball had no idea what was coming next. The next 3 days were busy for the human team. They met with the Curvol each morning, smiling politely through all the alien pranks. The chairs still made noises. The food still changed colors. The translation device still twisted their words. But now, unknown to the aliens, each prank was being matched with a human counterprank. Min Su's technology worked perfectly. When Commander Zik spoke about Curvol achievements, his image on the home broadcast showed him with a flower growing out of his head. When another alien described their advanced ships, tiny cartoon birds appeared to fly around them. The effects were small at first, just enough to be noticed by the viewers, but not by the aliens themselves. Any response from their audience? Jai-Ho asked Min Su after the third day. Min Su checked his data. Viewer numbers are up 30%. They're watching more, but I can't tell if they understand what's happening. Time to take it up a level, Jai-Ho decided. For the next meeting, Jai-Ho brought a special gift. It was a box of what he called traditional Earth greeting cookies. These are how we welcome important visitors, Jai-Ho explained, offering the box to Commander Zik. The commander looked pleased. The aliens had been waiting for humans to share food they could prank. They scanned the cookies quickly with a small device, finding nothing unusual. "We are honored," Commander Zik said, taking a cookie. The other aliens also took cookies. They bit into them at the same time. For a moment, nothing happened. Then their blue-gray skin began to change color. Slowly, all the aliens turned bright pink from head to toe. "Is something wrong?" Jai-Ho asked innocently. "You look a bit different." The aliens looked at each other in shock. Their color changing was supposed to be voluntary, not caused by food. "What is in these cookies?" Commander Zik demanded. "Just sugar, flour, and a touch of earth spice," Jai-Ho said calmly. "Perhaps your bodies react differently to cinnamon." The aliens couldn't prove it was a deliberate prank. The cookies were indeed made with normal ingredients. The humans had simply discovered that cinnamon triggered Curvol color changes, a fact the Curvol had kept secret. Back on the Curvol home planet, viewers watched their representatives turn bright pink. Some found it confusing. Others found it amusing. But the humans were just getting started. During the next meeting, Taiwan gave a presentation about Earth languages. In the middle of his talk, he accidentally pressed the wrong button on his computer. Suddenly, a video started playing on the big screen. It was a collection of classic Korean comedy shows. Physical comedy, practical jokes, and clever wordplay filled the screen. But Taiwan presented it as serious historical documentation. "These are records of our most important political meetings," he said with a straight face. The Curvol watched, confused. They saw humans falling into pools of water, throwing pies at each other, and playing elaborate pranks. "Your leaders behave this way in meetings?" Commander Zik asked. "Only during our most formal occasions," Jai-Ho explained seriously. "The more important the meeting, the more physical the communication." The aliens took careful notes, completely missing that they were watching comedy shows. That evening, Su-Jin reported strange behavior from the alien ship. "They're studying the comedy videos we showed them," she said. "They think they're learning about our government." Hyri laughed. "Cultural misunderstandings go both ways." "Perfect," Jai-Ho said. "Tomorrow, we introduce them to satire." Min Su looked up from his computer with a grin. "And I've got something even better planned for their broadcast." The humans went to sleep that night feeling satisfied. The Curvol had come to Earth expecting to laugh at humans. But now, for the first time, some Curvol were starting to laugh with them instead. The comedy revolution had begun. By the fifth day, Commander Zik was confused. Something wasn't right, but he couldn't figure out what. The humans still reacted to their pranks, but the reactions seemed different, almost as if the humans were expecting them. "Captain Dak is not pleased," he told his team before the day's meeting. "Viewer numbers are up, but the comments from home are strange. Some viewers seem to be laughing at us, not the humans." One of the younger Curvol officers, Ven, spoke up. Perhaps the humans are more complex than we thought. Commander Zik dismissed the idea with a wave. Impossible. They still use physical transportation and eat non-programmed food. They're primitive. But doubt had crept into his mind. Meanwhile, Jai-Ho was teaching the human team about a comedy concept. It's called the straight man, he explained. In comedy, one person acts normal while crazy things happen around them. The contrast makes it funnier. So we all act serious while pranking them. Ta-One asked. Exactly, Jai-Ho nodded. Today we introduced them to Korean variety shows, but we present it as the most serious thing ever. When the curveball arrived, the meeting room had been transformed. A large screen covered one wall. Colorful signs with Korean writing hung everywhere. Today we share our most sacred cultural tradition, Jai-Ho announced solemnly. The variety show competition. For the next hour, the humans showed clips of wild, chaotic Korean variety shows. People running through obstacle courses, eating strange food, and playing silly games filled the screen. But the humans watched with serious, respectful faces. This determines our social status, Soo-Jin explained gravely. The better you perform in these challenges, the higher your rank in society. The curveball took notes frantically, completely missing that this was entertainment, not serious cultural practice. To honor our growing friendship, Jai-Ho said, we invite you to participate in a small demonstration. Before Commander Zik could refuse, the humans had set up a simple game. It involved trying to eat a cookie hanging from a string without using hands. It was a common party game on Earth, but the humans presented it like a formal diplomatic ritual. Our highest leaders must complete this challenge yearly, Hyri said with a straight face. Reluctantly, the curveball agreed to try. What followed was 10 minutes of aliens awkwardly trying to eat swinging cookies while the humans solemnly observed. Min-Soo made sure every second was broadcast back to the curveball home planet. Unknown to Commander Zik, millions of curveball were now watching their representatives look ridiculous. Some were beginning to ask questions in the comment feeds. Why were their diplomats acting this way? Were humans really controlling the situation? After the meeting, a strange thing happened. The young curveball officer, Ven, approached Jai-Ho privately. Your cultural practices are interesting, Ven said carefully. But I noticed something. You never laugh during these serious demonstrations, yet the activities seem designed to create amusement. Jai-Ho studied the young alien. Was this a trap, or was Ven genuinely curious? Humor is complex, Jai-Ho replied. Sometimes the funniest thing is pretending something isn't funny at all. Ven's eyes widened slightly. You mean, the seriousness is part of the joke? Jai-Ho smiled. Perhaps. That evening, Commander Zik received an urgent message from Captain Dak. The broadcasts are not having the desired effect. The captain said angrily. Some viewers are questioning why our representatives are participating in human rituals instead of studying them. Others are finding the humans' behavior fascinating rather than primitive. I don't understand what's happening, Commander Zik admitted. The humans react to our pranks, but something feels wrong. Fix it, Captain Dak ordered, or we'll end this mission and find a more primitive planet to study. What neither of them knew was that comedy was spreading through the curveball ship. Young officers like Ven had begun watching more human comedy videos, trying to understand this strange cultural practice. For the first time in curveball history, their rigid social hierarchy was facing something it couldn't control. Laughter. Jai-Ho gathered his team early on the 6th day. Their plan was working better than expected, but now it was time for their masterpiece. Today we go all in, he told them. The big joke. Min-Soo showed them his latest work on a tablet. I can now control their entire broadcast system. Whatever we want their home planet to see, I can make it happen. Perfect, Jai-Ho said. Here's the plan. When the curveball arrived, the humans greeted them with unusual politeness. Everything seemed normal at first. Today we will demonstrate our most advanced technology, Jai-Ho announced. Commander Zik perked up. This was what they had been waiting for, a chance to prove how primitive humans really were. "We are most interested," he said, trying to hide his excitement. Jai-Ho unveiled what looked like a simple metal box with buttons. "This is our Universal Translator 5000. It can translate any language perfectly, even thoughts." The Curvol tried not to laugh. Their own translation technology was far superior. This would be embarrassing for the humans. "Would you like to test it?" Jai-Ho asked innocently. Commander Zik stepped forward. "I would be honored." Jai-Ho placed a small dot on the commander's temple. "This connects to the translator. Please think of something you would like to say to your people back home." The commander closed his eyes. He thought of a dignified greeting to the Curvol High Council. Min Su pressed a button on his tablet. On the screen behind them, words appeared. "I love Dan saying G in ping he page AMAs when no one is doing cheating." The humans kept perfectly serious faces. The Curvol gasped. That is not what I was thinking." Commander Zik protested. "The machine never makes mistakes," Sujin said firmly. "Perhaps you were thinking of something else deep down." The other aliens started to back away from the machine. What if it revealed their secret thoughts too? But the prank was just beginning. Min Su triggered Phase 2. Suddenly, all the screens in the room began showing footage from the previous days. But not what the Curvol expected. It showed them falling for human pranks. The pink skin from the cookies. Their awkward attempts at eating cookies on strings. All the embarrassing moments they thought only they knew about. "What is this?" Commander Zik demanded, his skin turning purple with anger. "Oh no, the system must be malfunctioning," Jai-Ho said, pretending to be concerned. "It's sending random footage too. Wait, where is it sending this?" Min Su looked up from his tablet with fake alarm. "I think it's broadcasting to the Curvol communication channel." Commander Zik froze. "You mean your home planet is seeing all this right now?" Taiwan confirmed. This was true. Min Su had redirected the Curvol's own broadcast system. For the first time, the Curvol audience was seeing their representatives not as clever pranksters, but as the unwitting victims of human humor. Commander Zik rushed to his communication device. "Stop the broadcast. Stop it now." But it was too late. Millions of Curvol were watching their diplomats panic. Some were confused, but others were doing something rare on their planet. They were laughing. Not at the humans, but at their own leaders. "I don't understand," one of the Curvol officers said. "How did you do this?" Jai-Ho finally let a small smile show. "We've known about your pranks since day one. The noisy chairs, the color-changing food, the fake translations." The aliens stared in shock. "You knew, but you acted surprised," Commander Zik said. "That's what comedians do," Jai-Ho explained. "We pretend. We act. We create situations that reveal truth through humor." Young Officer Ven stepped forward, eyes bright with understanding. "So you were pranking us while we thought we were pranking you." "Exactly," Jai-Ho nodded. "Comedy isn't about making others look stupid. It's about sharing a moment of surprise and joy." As the broadcast continued, something unprecedented happened on the Curvol home planet. Their rigid society, built on order and hierarchy, was experiencing something new. They were learning to laugh at themselves. Commander Zik left the meeting in a hurry. His mission was falling apart. He rushed back to the ship to contact Captain Dak. "The humans knew all along," Commander Zik reported. "They were playing us from the beginning." Captain Dak's face turned dark blue with anger. "Impossible. How could primitive beings outsmart us? They understand something we don't," Commander Zik admitted. "This thing they call comedy. It's not just simple pranks. It's complex." On the Curvol home planet, something strange was happening. The video of their representatives being tricked by humans had gone viral. People were sharing it, discussing it, and most shocking of all, imitating it. Young Curvol began playing harmless pranks on each other. They were repeating human jokes, Small underground gatherings formed where Kervil practiced laughing together. The High Council was alarmed. For thousands of years, Kervil society had been based on order and respect. Humor had been limited to laughing at those below you in status. Now people were laughing at leaders, even at themselves. This is dangerous, one council member warned. If people laugh at authority, they might question it next. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ven approached the human team after Commander Zik left. "I want to learn more," the young Kervil said. "About comedy." Jai-Ho studied the alien carefully. "Why?" "All my life, I felt something was missing in our society," Ven explained. "We're taught to be serious, to follow rules, to never show weakness. But when I saw humans laugh even at yourselves, it felt right." Hairi stepped forward. "Comedy is about more than jokes. It's about seeing the world differently, finding truth in unexpected places." "Can you teach me?" Ven asked. The humans looked at each other. This was unexpected. "There are others on our ship who feel the same," Ven added quietly. "We watch your comedy videos in secret." Jai-Ho smiled. "Our first alien comedy students. Why not?" Over the next day, while Commander Zik was busy reporting to his superiors, Ven brought 5 other young Kervil officers to learn from the humans. They watched comedy shows, practiced telling jokes, and even tried making funny faces, something strictly forbidden in Kervil culture. "Your facial muscles need exercise," Jai-Ho explained as the aliens tried to smile naturally. "Comedy is physical too." Back on the Kervil ship, Commander Zik received new orders from the High Council. "End the mission immediately," they commanded. This human influence must be contained. But it was already too late. News had spread through the Kervil communication network about the comedy primitives who had outsmarted their representatives. Illegal copies of human comedy shows were being shared secretly. On hundreds of Kervil worlds, people were beginning to laugh together for the first time. Not at someone's expense, but at the shared absurdity of life. When Commander Zik tried to gather his crew to leave Earth, he discovered that 6 of his youngest officers were missing. When found, they were with the humans, practicing something called improv comedy. "What are you doing?" Commander Zik demanded. "We have orders to leave immediately." Ven stood up straight. "With respect, Commander, I request to stay as a cultural liaison. There is much we can learn from humans." "This is not a cultural mission anymore," Commander Zik said. "It was never meant to be. We came to mock them, not learn from them." "And that was our mistake," Ven replied. "We thought we were superior because of our technology. But humans have mastered something we never even considered important. Comedy," Commander Zik said with disgust. "Not just comedy," Ven said. "Connection. Humans use humor to connect with each other, to deal with life's difficulties, to speak truth to power." For the first time in his career, Commander Zik didn't know what to do. His mission had failed. His crew was rebelling. And somewhere deep inside, he had a strange, forbidden thought. Maybe the humans were right. The next morning, Commander Zik arrived at the Seoul International Center with his full team. His face was stern. This would be the final meeting. "We are ending our mission today," he announced flatly. "All contact between Kervil and humans will cease." Jai-Ho and the human team exchanged worried glances. They had expected the Kervil leaders to be angry, but not to cut off all contact. "May I ask why?" Jai-Ho asked. Commander Zik's skin darkened. "You know why. This was never a diplomatic mission. We came to study primitive beings, to entertain our people with your simplicity. But you have caused problems in our society." "Problems?" Hairi asked. "What kind of problems?" "Disorder, questioning, inappropriate laughter." Commander Zik waved his hand dismissively. "It will pass once we remove the source." Jai-Ho stepped forward. "With respect, Commander, I don't think it will pass. You can't control humor once people discover it." "We've controlled everything else for 10,000 years," Commander Zik said coldly. That's exactly the problem, came a voice from behind him. Everyone turned. It was Ven, standing with the 5 other young officers who had been learning human comedy. They formed a line behind him. "These humans aren't primitives," Ven said. "They may not have our technology, but they have something more important. They know how to question themselves, how to see their own flaws and laugh at them, how to grow." Commander Zick's eyes narrowed. "Officer Ven, you will return to the ship immediately. This is direct insubordination." "I understand the consequences," Ven replied. "But I stand by my words." The tension in the room was thick. Sujin quietly moved security personnel into position. Worried the situation might turn dangerous, Jai-Ho decided to try a different approach. "Commander, may I show you one last thing before you leave Earth forever?" After a moment's hesitation, Commander Zick nodded. Jai-Ho nodded to Min-Su, who typed something on his tablet. The large screen on the wall came to life. It showed images from across Earth, people laughing together, friends joking in a cafe, a family playing silly games, children making funny faces, comedians on stage sharing stories that made audiences roar with laughter. "This is Earth's greatest strength," Jai-Ho said softly. "Not our technology or our armies. Our ability to laugh together, to use humor to survive our hardest times, to speak truth to those in power without starting wars." As the images played, Jai-Ho continued. "You came here thinking comedy was simple, just pranks and embarrassment. But real comedy is complex. It helps us process pain, challenge authority, and connect with each other." The room was silent. Even Commander Zick seemed transfixed by the images. "Your people are discovering this now," Jai-Ho said. "They're finding ways to laugh together, not just at each other. You can try to stop it, but humor finds a way, like water through cracks." Suddenly, the screen changed. Now it showed footage from the Kerval home planet, footage that Min-Su had secretly collected from their own networks. It showed young Kerval sharing jokes, older ones tentatively trying to smile. Secret gatherings where Kerval were watching human comedy shows with wonder on their faces. "It's already happening," Tadawun said. "Your people want this." Commander Zick watched the screen, his expression unreadable. Finally, he turned to Jai-Ho. "The High Council has ordered all contact cut. I must obey." "And if you don't?" Jai-Ho asked. Then stepped forward. "Then we offer an alternative, Commander. Not ending contact, but changing its nature. Real diplomacy. Real cultural exchange." "The Council would never agree," Commander Zick said, but his voice held a note of uncertainty. "Perhaps," Jai-Ho suggested, "they need to hear directly from Earth." Min-Su looked up from his tablet. "I can establish a direct link to the Kerval High Council chambers. Right now." Commander Zick stared at Jai-Ho for a long moment. Then he made his decision. "Do it," he said. The large screen flickered to life. 7 stern Kerval faces appeared, each wearing elaborate headpieces that showed their high rank. The Kerval High Council looked down at the humans with cold eyes. "Commander Zick, explain this unauthorized communication," the center figure demanded. Commander Zick stepped forward. "High Counselors, I believe we must reconsider our position on humans. Our decision is final," another council member said harshly. "End the mission. Return to base." Jai-Ho moved beside Commander Zick. "Respected council members, my name is Park Jae-Ho of Earth. May I speak?" The council members looked surprised. They hadn't expected a human to address them directly. "You may speak briefly," the center figure said. Jai-Ho took a deep breath. "You sent your people to laugh at us. I understand. Meeting new species is scary. It's easier to make them jokes than to see them as equals." The council members shifted uncomfortably. "But something unexpected happened," Jai-Ho continued. "Your people discovered that humor isn't just for mocking others. It's for connecting, for healing, for seeing truth." Min-Su quietly tapped his tablet. The screen split to show footage from across Kerval worlds. The underground comedy movement spreading everywhere. Your society is changing, Jai-Ho said. Not because we forced it, but because your own people found something they needed, something that was missing. One of the council members leaned forward. This disorder threatens our entire way of life. No, Ven said, stepping up. It enriches it. The council was shocked to see a junior officer speak. In Kerval culture, this never happened. Humor doesn't threaten order, Ven continued bravely. It makes society stronger. It allows people to bond, to release tension, to speak truth safely. Taiwan joined them. In human history, the societies that ban humor are always the weakest. They collapse from within because people cannot speak freely. The council members whispered among themselves. Finally, the center figure spoke. What exactly are you proposing? Real diplomacy, Jai-Ho said. A true cultural exchange. Not pranks disguised as relations, but honest learning from each other. And if we refuse? A council member asked. Min Su quietly showed Jai-Ho his tablet. Messages were flooding in from across Kerval space. Millions were watching this transmission. The comedy revolution was too big to stop now. Then you'll fight your own people's desire to laugh, to connect, to grow, Jai-Ho said simply. And that's a battle you can't win. There was a long silence. Then, unexpectedly, one of the council members, the oldest one, made a strange sound. It took everyone a moment to realize what it was. He was laughing. In 10,000 years on the council, the old Kerval said, "This is the first time anyone has spoken to us this way. It is refreshing." The center council member looked displeased, but nodded slowly. "We will consider a real diplomatic relationship, but this comedy must be controlled." "You can't control comedy," Jai-Ho smiled. "But you can channel it. Use it to make your society stronger, not weaker." "Very well," the council leader decided. "We will establish a formal cultural exchange program. Commander Zik will remain in charge of our mission, with Officer Ven as cultural liaison." After the transmission ended, the room was quiet. Then Commander Zik turned to Jai-Ho. "I still don't understand how this happened," he admitted. "We came to laugh at you, not with you." "That's the thing about good comedy," Jai-Ho said. "It surprises everyone, even the comedian." 1 year later, the first intergalactic comedy festival opened in Seoul. Thousands of Kerval visitors came to Earth to learn and share humor with humans. Jai-Ho and Ven stood on stage together, ready to host the event. "Welcome, everyone," Jai-Ho called out. "Humans and Kerval together." The audience cheered wildly. "Who would have thought," Ven said into the microphone, "that a prank would lead to peace?" Jai-Ho grinned. "That's humanity's secret weapon. We don't need advanced ships or technology. We just need to make you laugh." As the festival began, one thing became clear. In the vast universe, with all its many differences, laughter might be the most universal language of all. The end.